Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadidamastumavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We shall chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verses 16 to 20.
एवं प्रवर्तितं चक्रं नानुवर्तयति हयः अघायुरिन्द्रिया रामः मोघं पार्थ स जीवति यस्त्वात्मरतिरेव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टः तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थः नाकृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्धव्यपाश्रयः तस्मादसक्तः सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म परमाप्नोति पूरुषः कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्तिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि.
The last two shlokas that we have done in this third chapter is number 16 and 17. In 16, he talks about those people, what happens to them who don't follow the Dharma Chakra, those who don't live life performing action in the spirit of Yajna. What happens to them? They are living life thinking that they are achieving something great, but it's a totally wasted life, is what Sri Krishna says in 16. And then, because they are totally reveling in the senses, Indriya Ramaha is the word used. And then in 17th shloka, it talks about those people who have understood the hollowness of the sense pursuit as an end all and be all of life. Such people, they follow the self, Atma, the path of enlightenment. They understand that any goal pertaining to the world, whether it is at the level of the body or mind or intellect, can only be relative. It cannot be the ultimate. All of us are performing action or avoiding action only for happiness. And slowly, when you begin to understand life through Shastra and through reflection over Shastra with your experience, you understand that the happiness that I'm searching for cannot be found outside. It is within me. It is my original nature. Then you understand that my goal in life is to realize myself. Then only you will set that as your goal. Then you channelize all your efforts, whether it is at the physical or emotional or intellectual level, towards that goal. So a direction will be set towards the higher, and you will start functioning towards the higher. That is called yajna. So he says in shloka number 17, he says, the man who rejoices in the self, not in the body, mind, intellect. Meaning he may contact the body, mind, intellect. He may contact the world using the body, mind, and intellect, and he will in fact enjoy them also. The contacts that he establishes with the world through the body, mind, intellect, he will enjoy. But he is not living merely for that purpose. He directs his efforts towards the self. Such a person, he says, he rejoices in the self, he is satisfied in the self, he is content in the self. So, at all levels, he is absolutely fulfilled. He experiences true happiness. So, he repeats three times, rejoices in the self, satisfied in the self, contented in the self. Now, in our case, we are not contented with what we have right now. We, we are constantly thinking about our future achievements, which we hope will bring us that contentment. We are not satisfied with our life, and then we are not really rejoicing right now in the present moment. If at all we are finding some joy, it is dependent on our achievements, our contacts. How to be happy independent of your contacts and achievements. How to be happy with yourself. Today we are bored with ourselves. None of us are happy with ourselves. At least minimum we need is one mobile phone. So that when I'm alone, I can keep, browsing something, watch YouTube or something or the other. So I'm not able to be happy with myself. I am a dependent person today on something or the other. So in the case of a self-realized soul, that dependence becomes zero. We have mentioned this in the class before. In the beginning, you will have world dependence upon the world. World means worldly objects and beings. Then slowly, the dependence moves to God. Then you become free from that dependence also. Then you become absolutely dependent on the self, meaning self-reliant. So when you evolve, how do you know if you're evolving or not? To what extent have you become self-sufficient? To what extent have you become self-reliant? To what extent have you become self-confident? Is your confidence coming from the diamonds you wear? Is your confidence coming from where you live? Own house or rented house? Which area? Our confidence seems to come from all these things. What kind of degrees? Oh, I have done PhD, so I'm very confident. It is coming from something external. It is not coming from within. It is not coming from me. So all these external paraphernalia we are today dependent upon. But when you move closer and closer to the self, you get the same nature as the self. What is it that we talk about when we talk about self? We call it as Satchit Ananda Swarupa. Self is Sat, absolute existence. Chit, consciousness, pure consciousness. And Ananda, Akhandananda, uninterrupted bliss. So self is what? Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. So when you get closer and closer to the self, you will also become that Sat, independent existence. See, physically, mentally, we may depend on things and relate with them. But internally, even though we share emotions, still we become independent of it when we move closer and closer to the self. So that is the real trait of evolution, spiritual evolution. Spiritual evolution is not marked by whether wearing jewelry or not wearing jewelry, what kind of clothes you wear, what kind of clothes you don't wear. These things don't determine whether you have spiritually grown or not. You understand? What time you wake up in the morning, what time you go to bed. These things doesn't determine. These things may change as you evolve spiritually. That's a different thing. But these are not the criteria. How independent have you become? In the book Vedanta Treatise, the very first chapter, Role of Vedanta, Swamiji talks about it. He draws two, vertical lines parallel to each other. Line AB and CD. AB is lower point is A, upper point is B in the first line. In second line, upper point is C, lower point is D. Ulta. So, AB line talks about spiritual evolution. CD line talks about dependence. So, A is 0, B is 100. C is 0, D is 100. So, when a person is 0% developed spiritually, 100% dependent. When a person is 25% developed, 75% dependent. When you are 75% developed, 25% dependent. Dependence reduces tremendously. When you are 100% evolved, 0% dependence. Internally, inherently, you have zero dependence on the world. You may transact, you will enjoy. It will all just be a tamasha, play, but zero dependence. So that's what he says. For such a person, there is nothing to be done. For such a person, there is nothing to be done does not mean he will not do anything. His doing is not a compulsion. For us, there is desire, and that desire is constantly pushing us from within. There's a compulsion. In the world also, a lot of us live unintelligently. As we get salary, in fact, in Middle East and all, I remember, I think if your salary is X, you can take away loan to 18x times. I think 18x times. So if your monthly salary is, let's say, 10,000 dirhams, you can take 180,000 dirhams loan. And many people do that. And the conversion rate is approximately now, I think, 23 or so, 25, let's say. So they take so much money and then buy property in India, etc., and they live their life. Now, what happens once you do that? You get caught, isn't it? You become dependent on the job. And when you become dependent on the job, then you have to dance according to the tunes of people in the company. You become completely dependent. You can't say, I'm not coming today, or I can't do this. You can't talk freely. Your freedom is gone. You have actually sold your freedom. So when he says he has nothing to do, means the person has got freedom. This is what we need to understand. So when you've got freedom, you will not be forced by the tamas inside wanting you not to act. That will not happen. Because when we read this shloka, a lot of people misunderstand these shlokas. For him, there is nothing to be done, meaning a fellow will be useless. That's why I don't want to study Vedanta. When we study Vedanta, we will also become useless. He will have nothing. He will not be having any responsibility. See, when we understand Vedanta, in fact, we become more responsible. But what will be taken away from us is that sense of dispensability. I'm indispensable. That sense of indispensability will not be there. So, when I gain this knowledge, I will become more responsible. Nothing to be done in the sense it's not a compulsion either from outside or from inside. In many places, what happens is you say, I've eaten to my heart's content, I'm full. But they say, no, thoda sa khao, thoda khao. And you, to satisfy them, you eat and then you suffer. Something or the other, we are all dependent. In the case of a Mahatma who's reached the self, he is reveling in the self. So in 16, he said, Indriya Ramaha, reveling in the senses. Here he says, Atma Ratihi, Atma Triptaha, Atmani Santushtaha. So it is all for the sake of the self. It is not for anybody else. So cheerfully, joyfully, with freedom, I go about doing whatever is to be done. And that is how a Mahatma functions. In short, he is not available for sale. You understand? His actions, nothing is available for sale. He has not mortgaged himself to the worldly acquisitions and possessions. And that's the beauty. Cheerful. Every day is a Sunday. Every day is a Sunday. There's no such thing as one particular day you keep as Sunday and then you don't get up in the morning. On Sunday, many people don't see sun. They go to bed only around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and then wake up evening after the sun has set. But in the case of a Mahatma, inside every day is Sunday. Inside every day is Sunday. But goes about performing with no stress whatsoever. Because what gives you stress is not your action. What gives you stress is that feeling that I have to do this. There's some compulsion from within. I'm doing this for this person or that person to satisfy them or to get this or that. Something up the sleeve we all have. There is some motive. So when he says he has nothing to do, all it means is he has no motive whatsoever. Absolutely no motive. That is a Mahatma. He continues, verse 18.
नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थः नाकृतेनेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः.
For him, there is no interest whatever here in what is done or what is not done. Nor does he depend upon any being for any object. So he says, a Mahatma who's reached the self, who has been doing yajna, purified himself, gained the knowledge, and got liberated, become free, enlightened, for that person, there is no interest whatever here. Here means in this world. In what is done or what is not done. If you take the example of all of us who are not enlightened, we are so attached to what we have and we crave for what we do not have. We are so attached to what we have and we are craving for what we do not have. In the case of a Mahatma, there is zero attachment or craving, no interest whatsoever in what is done, what is accomplished, or what is not yet accomplished. So, whenever we talk about this concept, we bring in the example of the dream state. When you go to sleep and you dream, in the dream, let's say, you have certain things that you want to accomplish. As a dreamer, you have certain ambitions. Something may be selfish, maybe unselfish, whatever it is. You have few ambitions that you wanted to achieve. All this is happening in the dream. As a dreamer, you have these ambitions. And one by one you fulfill. And a lot of good activities, unselfish activities also you have done. Right? And for that, you have been also rewarded quite many times. And for your good service, the government has announced a great award for you. All this happening in the dream, remember. And when you were about to go to get that award, you trip, you fall down, and you wake up. Now, once you've woken up, will you be interested in the accomplishments of the dream? Will you be interested in going and receiving the award which you have not received? You know that it is all dream. It is all meaningless. It has no inherent value. Why would you, put yourself into trouble for something that has no inherent value? So that is what he's saying. For him, there is no interest whatever here. Why would you be interested in the shadow when there is both Virat Kohli in person and Virat Kohli's wax statue? Would you be interested in taking picture with Virat Kohli or with his wax statue? I don't know. Maybe some of us will be interested in wax statue, not with the person. So that is what he's trying to say. He has understood what is real, what is ephemeral, what is eternal, what is ephemeral, what is permanent, what is impermanent. So once you know that, why would you go after the impermanent? Why would you go after the ephemeral? That is what he's saying. There is no interest whatsoever. Meaning, there is no personal motive. There's no personal agenda. In life, if you really want to enjoy this personal agenda, this selfishness, this egoistic nature has to go. You find out whenever you are happy, there will be self-forgetfulness, isn't it? When a person is involved in doing something that he loves or she loves, in doing that, they forget themselves, and that's why they are in joy. But in motive, there is I have to achieve this. And that motive is what is the burden. And that motive is what corrupts your joy. That's all he says. So once a person reaches that self-realization state, there's no interest whatsoever here in this world in what is already achieved or whatever needs to be accomplished. Thereafter, he doesn't do things to accomplish. Now, if you're a cricketer, you would be playing, seeing the ball, not the scoreboard. You won't even know maybe that you have just completed century. You keep on playing. You enjoy playing. So that's all he's saying. He continues enjoying. You have to interpret these shlokas in this way. For him, there is no interest whatever here in the outcome, in what is done and what is not done. There is only, if at all, you have to borrow words, therefore I am borrowing. If at all there is interest in just playing. Also, you can't say interest. You understand? Just goes about expressing the nature. Nor does he dependent upon any being for any object. Zero dependence we already spoke about. There is no dependence whatsoever in the Mahatma. So he says, nor does he depend upon any being for any object. So there is a very interesting story. Tansen, a great musician, was asked by Akbar, do you think there is anybody else who's better singer than you? For which he said, yes, my guru. I think his guru is Haridas ji. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's Haridas ji. So he said, Acha, he's such a great singer than you. I would like to, listen to him. He said, listen, he will not come here and sing for you. We'll have to go there. So Akbar said, yes, let's go. So when they went, Haridas ji was simply sitting looking somewhere. And he said, let's go to him and ask him to sing. He said, he will not sing. When he is inspired and he sings, then you listen. Then you compare and tell whether what I said is correct or not. So it so happened after some time when Haridas ji sang, they were both mesmerized. And then Emperor Akbar said, yes, you were absolutely right. You don't even come little close to him. He's too good. How is it possible? There is something completely different in his music. For which Tansen said, I sing for Emperor Akbar. He sings for the emperor within. That's the difference. Everything in nature, if you see, what is the difference? They are not living life for somebody or the other. something or the other. It's only human beings, we live our life for something or the other. Constantly, ye chahiye, wo chahiye. And you get that, you still want more, more. So this constant motive, and that motive is what is really destroying the quality of our life. That's why sometimes when we are asked, what is the purpose of life? I say the purpose of life is to just live. Forget about all the purpose. Even to say self-realization, we say purpose of life is self-realization. What it means is actually just to live. Because you actually begin to live only when you realize the self. Till then, you don't live. Till then, you're only trying to postpone death. That is not living. That is not at all living. That's why in the Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, he says, beautifully the Guru gives a shloka, mantra. Iha cheda veti data satyamasti nachetiha veti mahati vinashti. If you have lived life according to Vedas, if you achieve the purpose of self-realization, you have led a dharmic, sattvic, purposeful life, truthful life. Nachediha veti mahati vinashti. Nashti means loss. Vinashti means great loss. Mahati vinashti means supreme most great loss. Means it's a colossal loss. Loss of the greatest order. Why? Because you have everything, but you've lost yourself. If you have yourself and you lost everything, you can still gain it back. I don't know how many of you, I think I've quoted this also. I love watching tennis, or for that matter, any sport, especially tennis, badminton, cricket. I keep watching regularly. Now, this recent French Open, Alcaraz was a sinner. He was so down. The sinner could have easily won. Alcaraz, won the fourth set and won the fifth set also, and won the match. So it doesn't matter at all you've lost. What matters is, have you got the self? We've got everything, but we've lost the self. So total useless, insipid living, says the Upanishad. Cheda veti tata satyamasti. Chediha veti mahati vinashti. Bhuteshu bhuteshu vichitya dhiraha. Pretyasma lokat amrita bhavanti. So beautifully he says, only enlightened soul leads a truthful life. Which means what? You begin to live only then, because you are totally in the present. The mind is into future. We tie the present happiness with future achievement. We are never happy. He doesn't do that. Once you have enlightened yourself, once you have enlightened yourself with the knowledge of the self, you don't do that. You don't tie the future and present, the present happiness with future achievements. No, you won't do that. You will be happy and happily continue expressing your potential. And that's what he's saying. There is no dependence upon any being for any object. There's a story where a Mahatma was very happily living, contented. Devata appeared in front of him one day and said, you must ask some boon or the other. He said, Are Devi, I don't want anything. I'm absolutely happy, contented. So thank you very much for asking. But Devata said, no, nothing doing. You have to ask, you have to ask. After so much of pressure, Devata put on him. He said, okay, you see, I have this wound on my right leg now. Please shift it to my left leg. That's all he asked. Because he didn't know what to ask. Because there's nothing that he's lacking. See, asking will be there only when you are lacking. When there is no lacking, what is there to ask? What is there to make up for? You have to make up for what you lack. When you're paripurna, when you're complete, when you're fulfilled, there's nothing to ask. So therefore he said, listen, okay, since you're insisting so much, please shift the wound from my right leg to the left. And then the Devata said, that is not in my control. Then he said, you yourself seem to be very powerless. Please leave me alone. Thank you very much. So you want nothing. You want nothing in the sense you are totally independent, complete, paripurna. So when you have this asking spirit, however great work you may be seemingly doing, internally you are functioning like a beggar. मुझे ये चाहिए, मुझे वो चाहिए, मैं इस चीज के लिए ये कर रहा हूं. उसके अंदर कुछ ना कुछ डर होगा ना. You will be fear ना. I hope I'll achieve this. Hey Bhagavan, please make sure my prayer is answered. You answer the prayer, don't answer the prayer. I have no prayer. That's what he's saying. I have no prayer, nothing. Simply goes about functioning. They have no time for prayer. See, they have no time for prayer in the sense they are already in the state of awareness. Prayer is nothing but awareness. No? So we are doing it part-time. They are in full-time awareness of the truth. Since they are in full-time awareness of the truth, there is no time for them to pray. There is no need, there is no lacuna, there is nothing lacking there. They are absolutely full, paripurnatvam. So therefore, no dependence whatsoever. Success, ठीक है. Failure, ठीक है. कोई भी ठीक है. In fact, when you function like that, most of your actions will be bringing success. In case no success, then also no problem. Because your joy is not in the success, your joy is in doing. Doing itself is a reward for you. You are just going and expressing. In that sense. So that is what this shloka is saying. It's 17 and 18 is my favorite shlokas. For him, there is no interest whatever here in what is done, what is not done. What is not done in the sense, okay, many things have not been achieved. So what? They don't crave. Things happen, fine. But they continue doing. They don't stop action. That's what we say. They don't work for something.
This is
Not getting happiness. They work out of happiness. So you should not be acting for happiness. You should be acting out of happiness. You should not be acting for fulfillment. You should be acting out of fulfillment. Freely you walk with zero expectation. There is no fear, no insecurity. Your name will be taken away, your fame will be taken away, your position will be taken away, this will be gone, that will be gone. Zero dependence. See, when you know that it is a chair made of cardboard, would you go and sit on it? If you sit, it's your fault. Because you know that it is a chair made of cardboard and you're going and trying to sit on it. Whose fault is it? Everything in this world is meaningless. It has no pith or substance. It is all transient, fleeting, passing, temporary, ephemeral. Why are you going and sitting on it? The only thing that is permanent is Atma. You are not sitting on it. You are sitting on all the ephemeral stuff. And then there is fear. Please, somehow it should not break. It can break any day, any minute, can go. So when something that is passing, fleeting, it can go. You already know and you are not dependent on it. You are as though sitting on it. Like an actor on the stage. He knows it's all drama. So that's why Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage. All men and women are mere players. They have their exits and their entrances. He puts exits first, probably a reference to reincarnation. They have their exits and their entrances. So you enter a drama, you play the role, get out. Don't stay put there permanently. You should have your bags packed and kept ready. See, in the Middle East, when I used to live there was one gentleman who used to attend our sessions. He had lost his wife, he had no children. So when he was working for a company which was giving him good salary and HRA and all that, he could have got 3 bedroom apartment on rent. But he said, I'm a single person, why do I need 3 bedroom? And also he's studying Vedanta. He said, I want to keep my samsara simple. So with that money, instead of renting 3 bedroom apartment, he rented one small 2 bedroom apartment, furnished, fully furnished. So nothing in that house actually belongs to him, except his one suitcase which had his clothes. That's it. So when he retired, he had nothing to move to India, simply packed his bag in half an hour's time and left. That's how you should live. But what happens is, we come here, we slowly develop attachment, and then we say, this is my seat. When we come for our class also, every day regularly you come and you sit in one place. One day you might have come little late, or another fellow could have come earlier than you. He comes and sits in your place. You look at him, right? Don't you know that this is my seat? You've taken away my seat. This is how we live. And that's why we are so attached and so much suffering. In that fellow's case, no such thing. That's what Sri Krishna is saying. For him, there is no interest whatsoever here in what is done, and what is yet to be done. What is achieved, what is yet to be achieved. After having achieved the self, there is nothing remains to be achieved. Without achieving the self, you achieve anything, there will still be insecurity. Whereas once you've achieved the self, then you realize, once you've woken up from the dream, you are not interested in the dream. Everything with reference to the dream is achieved. Because the entire dream is nothing but the expression of waker's mind. You've woken up, so you've achieved the purpose with reference to the dream when you wake up. That's all he's saying. Whatever here is done or not done, he's not interested. Nor is he dependent on any being for any object. You don't put yourself in the state of a beggar. We have all put ourselves in a state of beggar. We're all, there's only two kinds of people, beggars and masters. And in beggars, there are rich and poor. Rich beggars, poor beggars. That's all in this world. But all are beggars. And when you go to master, in the master category, can you say rich master, poor master? There is no rich master, poor master. There is only rich master, no poor master. Why? Your richness is defined as what? We have done that many times in the class. When your desires are less than your assets, you're rich. When your desires are more than your assets, you're poor. So in the case of a master, there is no desire. There is no desire. There is no vasana. When there are no vasanas, no desires, then you are a master. You are rich. You are not poor at all. And in the poem Village Preacher by Oliver Goldsmith, beautifully there's one line. He talks about village preacher. He compares him to a man of perfection. And he says, village preacher lived with just 40 pounds, but he was rich. With 40 pounds, he is rich. With 40 pounds rich, he is. What does that mean? He had only 40 pounds, but he is rich. Here we may have 40 billion pounds and we may still feel we are poor. That is what he's talking about. We are weak in heart. And to compensate for that, we do everything. Inside is suffering from complexes. Outside, we are putting up a show. This is the problem. When you inside don't suffer from any lack, you don't have to show off outside. That external showing off will not be there. When he talks about qualities of an evolved soul, in the Gita later on, he will say, Amanitvam adambitvam. There is no showing off business. There is nothing. Because internally you are paripurna. Whom do you want to prove? What do you want to prove? There is nobody to be proved anything. Simply wasting our time. I have to prove this to that person, that. Nothing to prove to anybody. Simply live your life. That's why Swami Ramtita, I quoted last week, he says, your only obligation in life is to be self-poised, self-pleased. Unnecessarily wasting your time in all the other things. I have to do this, I have to do that. Restlessly we are all moving about. Whereas a Mahatma who has achieved the self very peacefully goes about functioning. Very quiet inside, but externally dynamic action. In our case, externally restlessly running around, internally no peace. When somebody asked from Ramtita, what is rest? He said, intense work is rest. Intense work is rest. Your work will be intense when you have no desires. When you have desires, your work will not be intense. You will be in tension. When you have desires, you will be in tension. You cannot do intense work. Intense work the worker should have perished. In work, when the worker dies, when the worker is no more, beautiful work comes out of that person. Tremendous activities, dynamism, everything, very quietly. You can call such a person as peaceful warrior. You understand? Very peacefully he will be functioning, facing the challenges of life, with no expectations whatsoever, living choicelessly, like a flower on the roadside, like a plant on the roadside. It is exposed to sun above, heat, rain, heavy wind, dust, everything, but happily dancing, isn't it? But we are all that time worried about the outcome, this thing, that thing, what will happen, where I will end, how many people will listen to my lecture. When a flower blossoms, a rose blossoms, it is not bothered whether it will end up as a mala, garland, and will that garland end up on the Lord's idol or on a dead body. Flower is not bothered. Will I firstly be ending up in garland and then ending up on Lord, God, or dead body? Flower is not bothered. Simply blossoms. But in the case of human being, everything we will have something or the other. I want to do this. I should get this. I should get that. That should happen. This should happen. Constantly that motive, the beggarly thing. When you do an action, with none of these desires. That is divine action. That is bhakti associated action. And such actions, which is bereft of any ego, is actually God's action. It's not yours. Where are you in that? There is no I, not even an iota of I in that. That is really pure action. That is what he says. For him, there is nothing to be done. No interest whatsoever here. Or what is done, not done. Zero dependence upon any being for any object. What a beautiful life. Absolutely free. Like a bird flying. What motive it has? Nothing. Simply flies. So that's all he says. That is how you will become free in life. This is called moksha. Now, after having given logic and reason for action to Arjuna, because you remember, Arjuna asked, you are asking me to do action when you are praising knowledge. I don't understand. Please explain. This is his question. Then he said, why you should act. Why you should act from verse number 4 till 18 he gives. And in 19 he concludes. 19th shloka is the concluding shloka for this logic and reason as to why we should act. So, we have so many shlokas in the Gita telling us the importance, the value of action. And yet we are not acting, yet we don't want to study Gita because we think Gita will take us away from action. Let's read shloka number 19.
तस्मादसक्तः सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म परमाप्नोति पूरुषः.
Therefore, therefore, without attachment, asakta satatam, always without attachment, karyam karma samachara, perform actions which should be done, your obligatory actions. Do those obligatory actions always without attachment. For performing action without attachment, man reaches the supreme. Asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purusha. Purusha, the individual being, man reaches the supreme self. This supreme self is attained by man through such selfless actions with zero attachment, with zero motive. That's all he says. So, like in maths we say, no? Therefore, LHS is equal to RHS. Left hand side is equal to right hand side. After we solve the problem. So like that, so many logical explanation. From verse number 4. And then he's now concluding. Listen, why am I telling you to do these actions? In this way, yajna, he already explained, no? Yajna will help you grow materially, will help you grow spiritually. You will become absolutely independent. And when you perform action without attachment, the potential is you can reach the supreme. The whole problem is attachment. That word asakta you should remember. Asakta means without attachment. Detachment. Detachment means knowledge. A big word, detachment, everybody gets scared. Detachment simply means knowledge. Detachment doesn't mean you have to leave the things and go. You may be amongst the objects and beings, yet be detached. How? Through knowledge. When a grown-up adult, a father or a mother or a grandfather or grandmother, somebody who's grown up is playing that monopoly game with children or grandchildren when they play, are they attached to the money that they are transacting in monopoly game? Hmm? They are not, because they know it's all fake. It's all tamasha. They have the knowledge, so they are detached. They are without attachment. Whereas those children who are playing, they are very much attached. So as long as we don't have this knowledge of the self, we will be attached. Our attachment means ignorance. Detachment means knowledge. Remember this. Wherever the word detachment comes, you must replace it with knowledge. Knowledge of the self, knowledge of the higher. When you have knowledge of the higher, you become detached from the lower. With the attachment to the higher, we become detached from the lower. When the flower matures into a fruit, the petals of the flower automatically fall away. If you forcefully remove the petals, it won't become the fruit. But when it ripens and becomes the fruit, automatically the petals fall away. When the child is exposed to the higher realms of life, into the cycle world or the computer world, slowly the child is free from the toy world. The detachment with the toy world automatically happens because of the exposure to the higher. So that is what he's saying. Through yajna, when you start exposing yourself to the higher, slowly, the selfishness, the ego goes. Along with that, the insecurity goes. Everything goes. Then you are free. And this is, if at all the guru takes away from you, the knowledge takes away from you, only these things it takes away. That's why when somebody asks Swami Vivekananda, what did you gain from coming to spirituality, studying Gita and all that? He said, I don't know what all I gained, but I can list out things that I have lost. I lost fear. I lost jealousy. I lost anger. Like that, he listed out things. So many things I lost. Now, these things we have all got, and that is what is making the quality of our life very poor. Constantly, there is fear, jealousy, greed, anger. This is what is now in our life predominant. And all this will go. As you expose yourself to the knowledge, slowly, don't be there also, don't be result oriented. Remember, no motive. We've just come to sloka number 19 of chapter 3. I am already 70-year-old, 80-year-old. I don't know. I have this problem, that problem, how long I live. When will he complete Bhagavad Gita? You don't have to worry all that. You understand? Even one sloka, one word, that word asakta, we understand. That's enough. We really don't have to understand the entire Gita. The entire Gita message is this. So that's what he's saying. Asakta, acharan karma. Keep on doing without attachment. Clearly understanding that all these are ephemeral. Why should I get that? It is just my obligation. I have to do this. I do this to the best of my ability and get up. And when I simply do it in the spirit of yajna, like it was mentioned before, I evolve spiritually. I become more and more independent. Ultimately, I become the self. Like I said, no, in the Atma Bodha, Adi Shankaraji gives a beautiful example. You put an iron ball in the furnace, 1400 degrees Celsius furnace, it will become fire. Iron ball will become fire, become one with it. Similarly, when you keep on exposing yourself to the higher and higher and higher, finally you will become the higher self. Once you become the higher self, all this will be gone. There won't be any fear, nothing, zero fear. So when there is no fear, why would you act for something? This is called samsara. We need to understand what this samsara is. Samsara doesn't mean work or this or that. Samsara means this dependence. Let's conclude. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.